It's time again to register for the Photo Imaging Connect conference at the Rio Hotel, March 1st and 2nd, 2026. Go to www.photoimagingconnect.com for more information on the program and take advantage of the early bird pricing.
The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by Media Clip, Advertech Printing, and Independent Photo Imagers. Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Peugeot.
Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Peugeot, and today we're joined by Peter Van Teeseling, who's the director of Dscoop, and Chris Hyde, who's the marketing and creative director. Hi guys, how are you today?
Great, Gary. Good to see you.
Very good, Gary. Nice to see you again.
You've got a big conference coming up, but before we talk about the Dscoop Edge conference coming up in the Rockies, can you tell us a little bit about Dscoop, what it is, where it came from, and what it is you offer?
So basically, Dscoop started 20 years ago.
Wow.
We just completed, have had our 20th anniversary. And it started as a bit of a crazy idea of HP and a group of customers to come up with really innovating the technology and gaining market share for digital print. And, fast forward now 20 years, it's essentially, the essence is still there. It's pooling resources with HP customers, aka PSPs, converters, and the suppliers to the PSPs and converters. And, we connect them to people and ideas that help transform their business. And now it's grown from a small gathering in the US 20 years ago into a global movement, year-round engagement opportunities, learning opportunities in over 100 countries and 24,000 users.
And is it a membership organization or a club? Is there a fee to join? Who is interested in becoming a member of Dscoop?
That's a great question. A member of Dscoop is a company that owns or operates a piece of HP industrial print equipment, like Indigo, page wide, large format, and it's free for them to join. Anyone in the company. So the owners usually go to the in-person events, but also sales, marketing, operations. Anyone in the company, they can join us free of charge. You said, is it a member organization? Is it a club? I think it's all of the above. It's also been called a cult before, which I think also applies quite well. But essentially, that's the way to engage. And the second one is for our supplier community, the partners. They support the community and they support also the members. And it's you would call it a pass-through organization. Yes, we are funded by sponsorships from HP and the suppliers, and the PSPs pay to attend the events. But we invest all of that back into the community, whether that is through creating content on our platform, hosting online events, or putting together big and small in-person events.
Sure. I want to talk a little bit about those big and small in-person events, because that's really something I've noticed that has really been stepped up pretty much since COVID. I think maybe that was sort of the outgrowth of COVID. People were just so desperate to interact, right? That once a year at Dscoop Edge wasn't enough, and you kind of had to create these opportunities around the world. So you've got events almost, it seems like, every month according to your calendar.
Oh yeah, we have a full calendar of events, and it's really driven by the needs and wants of our community. So we're constantly listening. We have community managers that are active daily, hourly, minute by minute, listening to our community members and finding out what topics and trends they're interested in. And then we react really quickly in putting together events to kind of meet those needs. And our members are great at being the ones to help deliver that as well. So that's a beautiful part. Is it's a sort of a full circle opportunity for us. We have people that are experts within our community that are able to deliver on those topics and to help satisfy the need in the community. So it's cool.
One of the things I've really noticed at the Dscoop events I've been through is just the massive amount of sharing between the members amongst themselves in terms of being very candid and open about what's working and what's not working with their business. Why do you think that is?
I would say that comes out of trust. Right. And I mentioned this the other day to someone also. it's almost the willingness to help is unconditional. So it's not transactional. Oh, I'm going to tell you something that's going to help you, and you're going to tell me something that's going to help me. That will happen naturally, but it's not sort of the precondition.
Right.
And I think it's an environment that our members create, and we're part of that as well, right? Us as a team,
Right.
people like Chris, and as Chris mentioned, we've got another 12, 13 people operating this thing. But it's creating that environment that it's a trusted environment, meaning people feel safe and comfortable talking about those things.
Right.
And it's actually moving up even more, right? Initially, yes, it talked about specific things, maybe how they were doing something in their company or how they were operating their equipment or running their sales and marketing. It is now moving into how they're working with their teams, how they, build the company culture, which is a big important topic right now, how they do automation. And then they start to go and visit each other, which really helps because then, oh, you're a Dscoop member, I'm a Dscoop member, so there's probably something that will connect between us.
Right.
And we'll figure it out. And I think that's really conducive to these conversations.
Sure.
But they meet each other at the bar, right? Or at the event, casually in the hallway or in a session, or they get introduced to each other. And then, yes, they talk to us on a regular basis. Chris said we have these ongoing ability to listen and hear what's cooking and what's happening, and we can respond to that. But there is, I think, the trust part that our community is building, and it's funny. It's the same as it was almost 20 years ago, right? So we have this founding member, Jack Lacken. We have an award for doing the right thing, and that still applies today. That we see this all the time happening by our community, because a community the size that we have has to be supported by a core of leaders, people that can talk about it, but also lead by example.
Obviously with a 20-year history and the success you've had with your community, do you get many new people, or if you have someone who's kind of new to the business or new to HP or new to print or whatever, what do you have to welcome those people on board?
So what we have for those is really the introductions, because that's the first question we almost get asked. So how do we get engaged, right? Or how do we plug into the network? And we just say, ask us anything. We will help and guide you.
Sure.
And I think the number one thing that we try to do is connect the first timer with a more seasoned member.
Sure.
And that can lead to really we saw this in at the most recent event we did in California. Someone was there for the first time. We sort of connected her with a few other people, and that's led to conversations and interactions between her team and the other person's team. Right. That has accelerated their business that she wouldn't be able to do by herself in that short time frame. Right. And so it's that connecting into the fiber of the community, I think, is the most effective way. I had a meeting yesterday with someone that just installed a new HP press and said, okay, how do we do this? And we said the same thing. We onboard your team, as many people as you can, as you want, because they will get exposed and interacting at whatever their needs are. Sure. And it gets you connected into the network.
Because let's move on to the upcoming event, which is Dscoop Edge Rockies coming up in early March. And for a first-time attendee, that's a bit of an overwhelming event, right? Can you talk a little bit about what an Edge event is versus a local event, how different they are?
It's different than almost any kind of event, honestly.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
I mean, if you compare it to some of the bigger industry events, it's not like that. I mean, not that there isn't equipment and software, right? But you're not going shopping at the Edge. You're going there to connect, to grow your business, which is, yes, of course you go to any event to do that, but this it's different. Even the way our partner in talking about equipment and software, the partners are there to help grow your business. It's not hard sales. It's showing, hey, you're doing some really cool things in your business, and this is how we can enhance that. The conversations are different. Right. And then when it comes to other attendees, it's not passive. You're not just all attending a trade show. You're all going collectively to try to grow your businesses. And and that's the mindset difference. I mean, Peter touched on it earlier. You asked a question about, why are people sharing? It's a mindset. We don't bring 10,000 people.
Right.
It's not a mass event. It's a intimate event. It's 12, 13, 1,400 people, but they're all coming with a mindset to grow. And they're coming not to just passively, take in the education. They're there to really, poke and prod and be aggressive in learning and growing their business. Is this, they're not getting away for a few days just to be away from their business. They're going away to be really, ready to come back.
Yeah, you're working in the business while you're there.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about this year's Edge Rockies in terms of, the venue, the schedule, maybe some of the speakers that somebody might be familiar with.
It's always been part of our almost DNA, as Chris talked about, mindset, the Gaylord properties as a venue of the Dscoop community. We've been there in the past 20 years many times. And so we're excited it'll be at the Gaylord Rockies, which was also the venue when we did our first event post-COVID in 22. So that's a really cool thing because it's you're all in one space, right? So whether you are coming down the elevator in the morning, you're going to bump into someone with a badge. When you are at the sports bar, you're going to bump into. So in all these different locations, you're going to bump into each other. So there's this high density of people that are interested and keen to talk to each other. There's going to be the usual, right? The core pillars of the event. So we've got a fantastic solution showcase. HP and partners will bring equipment. They'll be running during the event. But as Chris said, it's not like a typical trade show because we have fun activities happening in the same space. We've got the networking. We've got everything is built around getting people connected in different ways. Then we've got an education program with 30 plus sessions that are really driven by member interest. So as Chris said, we talk to our members and understand, hey, what are your needs? What are things you want to know? But also we have to sort of read a little bit in between the words in that case of what is it that they don't know yet that we think they would need to know in the next couple of years.
Sure.
So we try and identify that as well. And then, some great keynotes to sort of, inspire them.
Sure.
Trigger or address, immediate core needs. So we're bringing back an economist that was very successful in Long Beach, is coming back by popular demand. Inspirational speakers, but also people that speak to company culture and how people work together. I think that's the additional layer of what this community is talking about is how they're working together as humans, as people, how they, manage their company culture, how they'll nurture that culture, and also talk about much more things like vulnerability and how they're doing as a human being in that space.
Yeah, because it is a people business, right? I mean, like every business, every business is a people business, right? Even though it's obviously digital print is very, very high technology, especially with AI, especially with data and all these other things it's still a people business. And that's one thing I always thought was great about the Dscoop Edge events was the way the people side is emphasized. It's not just technology. It's not just look at this wire pattern on this print object I'm making, right? It's really about how to connect with people and how to make more of that.
Well, and then Chris, maybe you can add something specific we're doing, knowing that, what members really enjoy are those hallway conversations, right? And how do we elevate that?
Yes. I'm going to bring up a word, happenstance. So happenstance is something I brought up before and it's sort of become an inside joke when I use that word. Is it as the marketing and creative director for this event, and the idea that it is like drinking Kool-Aid. It's really when we're always saying the education is great, but the most important things are going to happen in the hallways, and it's always true. People always after they come to an event, they always say that it's the lunch. It's where I met the people that are doing the same things, struggling with the same things. Succeeding at things that I'm trying to succeed at. Those are the conversations that have been most valuable for them.
Sure.
But to promise that they're going to have those has always been hard.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say, oh, you're going to find somebody in the hallway that's going to really help you out. We
Exactly.
promise.
Every conference struggles with that, right? Everyone
Right.
wants to know who they're going to meet, but you can't promise an introduction. You can't promise a great conversation at a sports bar.
Right. So this year we're instituting something totally different called the Explorer Circle. You can sign up when you register, and it's basically just saying, "Hey, I want to raise my hand and intentionally meet other people."
Right.
So we're going to curate some experiences when people sign up for the Explorer Circle, and we have trail guides, basically ambassadors
Right.
of the Dscoop community that have already raised their hand and say, "Yeah, I definitely want to guide others. I want to have some."
Sure.
We're going to have fire starter sessions, which are smaller, more intimate events, so that these people that have signed up to be part of the Explorer Circle can jump in and not by happenstance, actually intentionally meet some of the other community members.
Sure.
Again, back to the listening and understanding what a member say. You know, I'm just going to read out a couple of something that a member wrote to us the other day about attending the Edge, a Dscoop event or the Edge conference.
Sure.
And I think this is something that not many people actually articulate, but I think it's what we hear is the undercurrent. Right?
Absolutely.
He basically says, I'm always a bit paranoid that something is happening in the market, new products emerging, new ideas being developed, and that I'll miss it if I'm just sitting behind my desk. This is the big thing, right? So
Right.
you have to spend time away from your business. You have to invest to actually go. But how value is it? And for this person, he says, getting out into the world and meeting colleagues and people across the industry, you know, back to this Explorer Circle, gives me the clearest insights and the fastest understanding of what truly matters. And I think this is the core of why people actually show up, and not just attend, as we talked about before, but show up and raise their hand. And as you know, this concept that Chris came up with is just fantastic. And I don't think we've had anyone that we've asked to be a guide to say no. Everyone
Right.
says yes. Well, they say no if they have other pressing business. They have a family trip planned during the conference, so they can't come.
Right.
But if they're there, they're willing to do this. And I think this creates, again, this environment of trust and, you know, people coming together and saying, okay, we're not just here to sort of sit back and consume, because we are part of what to consume, right? The people are the content. They are making those differences for each other.
And like you said, you've kind of built that up over the course of, you know, online communities, local events, so you can kind of keep the spirit of Edge throughout the year. Now, speaking of Edge, you're now doing a second one this year in June in Slovenia. Can you talk a little bit about that, as how it compares to the traditional Edge? Is it a similar format, similar style? It's clearly not at a Gaylord hotel, so there's going to be a difference.
There is many differences. I can speak to that a little bit, Gary, because my history with Dscoop goes back to when a group of mavericks in Europe colluded with HP, not colluded is not the right word, but collaborated with HP and said, let's see if we can do this thing in Europe, because it was working well in North America. It was starting to work in Asia Pacific. And then what about Europe? So we have languages, we have cultures, we have lots of things that would say this doesn't work, but it took off. Right? We started doing events as of 2012. And then even in 2018, we did 3 big Edge-like events. We did one in the US in March. We did one in Korea in Seoul in May. And we did one in Vienna in Austria in June. And it's been since COVID that we haven't been back to mainland Europe or EMEA, right? Because it covers all the way from Norway to South Africa and Ireland to Poland in this case, or Ukraine. And so we're bringing it back. And I think it's a lot of demand by our members, because we have Europeans coming to the US event, but, you know, let's bring it back to the European mainland. The essence, it's the same as a typical North American Edge. It is a big size event. It is about networking. It is about connections. It is about driving the industry forward. And it'll have a showcase with equipment. HP will bring their presses. We have partners that will bring their equipment. We'll have education sessions like at Edge. We'll have keynotes, but more, you know, based on that region. Topic-wise, I think the European, the EMEA industry is very similar to the North American one, or the Americas one. So there's a lot of overlap in content, and you'll see a lot of cross-pollination. We have Europeans going to the US event. We have US people going to the European event. Even our smaller events get Americans or Canadians to fly over and attend those events, or even in Asia.
Yeah, because that is one of the things I think is interesting about well, the North American Edge events I've gone to is the number of Europeans, people from the Asia Pacific region. Certainly Australia has a big contingent that tends to come in. So you do get that international flavor at the Edge event.
I mean, it's a global industry, right? And the connectivity is there. Again, a member from Australia, he always sort of wants to maximize his trip to to a US Edge event because market dynamics are similar in Australia versus the US.
Sure.
But always able to connect him with other members that he's not met or seen before, and they open their doors, and he, can show up and talk to each other and build a relationship.
Yeah.
And then, start collaborations moving forward.
Can you talk a little bit about the Slovenia event specifically in terms of like the venue and the time frame, when it takes place, and maybe some of the education that might, keynotes that might be there?
Chris, you want to talk about the destination?
Yeah, it's in Ljubljana. There's some letters in there that don't seem to make sense, but it sounds beautiful, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The downtown Ljubljana along the canal that runs through the city is just It's lovely with the castle on the hill. I mean, it's idyllic. The location is beautiful. It's going to be at the convention center there, the Ljubljana Convention Center, right there. 10-minute walk from the hotel, the main hotel that we're going to have there in downtown. If you're going to go, you're going to want to see a little bit of the country as well, because we had the chance to go out to a 45-minute ride from downtown is Lake Bled, which is just another stunning location. So if you're going to make the trip there, you're going to want to see a little bit of Slovenia as well. So keynotes to be determined. But the location is it's stunning, very exciting, a very young city. There's a university downtown, so there's a lot of energy. So, and for me as an American coming in, the coffee is, I'm sure other countries can vie for better coffee, but anytime I go to Europe, every city I've been to has been amazing with coffee, and Ljubljana is no exception.
And it's also the European green capital, from what I understand. So it's very sustainable.
Exactly. Yes, it used to be part of Eastern Europe. It was part of Yugoslavia, but it's wedged in between. From the convention center, if you look up north down the street, you can see the Austrian Alps in the distance. They're about an hour away. There's the castle. The lake is in between. If you look west, you get to see Italy, which is an hour away. So Venice is maybe, I think, 2 hours drive, 2.5 hours. And to the south, you've got the Adriatic Sea, right? Croatia and the coast. So it's got, as Chris said, great coffee culture, food culture, wine. It's very sophisticated, and indeed, Ljubljana has been for a number of years nominated as the most sustainable, the green capital of Europe. It's the capital of Slovenia. It's got direct flights to Munich, to Paris, to London, to Amsterdam. Lots of different easy connections to make. And yeah, it's just a fantastic venue. We've seen this in other European events where you're in a city, but if there's 1,000 people that you recognize in the same area, or in this case, the same downtown area, there's a lot of, again, those interactions that are going to take place. And as Chris said, keynotes to be determined. We've got a short list, so we'll be announcing those pretty soon. But then all the typical ingredients, the Dscoop party, the education sessions, the solution showcase, and obviously the networking will be on par with the with the North American event.
There's always this sort of weird thing turn into the industry perspectives, right? Where, people talk about, print is dead or whatever. And I've really grown to hate that phrase when, if you go to an Edge event or get involved with the Dscoop community, clearly everyone is growing and doing well, because print has really expanded beyond just, simple, ink on paper sort of environment. And sort of with digital printing still not even taking up, I don't even think it's half of the marketplace, right? There's still plenty of growth there. So overall, from your perspective, Dscoop has to be pretty bullish about the future of print.
I think we're bullish on creative print.
Right.
Finding, I think print has become smarter.
Right.
In the digital age. I think our members are finding unique ways to use print to solve communications problems versus, the volume to the personalization. That shift has changed the mindset. And the people getting involved with print and getting into print are coming in without a lot of the baggage of large runs. They're looking at solving things in really unique ways.
Right.
And I think I'm bullish on that. I'm bullish on people finding creative ways to use print and leverage print versus again, I want to keep saying the old way. I mean, yes, and the print is dead thing can be said to, dumb print that isn't solving, it's not
I like
solving.
how you said that dumb print is dead.
Dumb print is dead. I think smart print is going to live on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you see this with new people with, as Chris said, without sort of the 20, 30 years of print history. I'm not saying that there is a lot of creativity in that space because they've evolved, right? But they've also shed that say dumb part. But also there's people coming into the industry because there is an opportunity for them.
Right.
I talked to one of our members the other day. They acquired a new business partner, right? And new investors, but they're in it to win it, right? They are seeing opportunities in the industry that is making them decide from a tech background to invest in print.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I agree with Chris, right? So I think one is we're seeing the members that are active in our community are more optimistic and more positive and more driving that direction and really taking those opportunities and being more successful in that space. And that also attracts others as well to come in and not just wait for what the future of print looks like, but define it.
And if people wanted to find out what the future of print is, where can they go to find out more about Dscoop?
Did you want to give your telephone number, Peter?
I have no issue giving my telephone number. That's +31 6813 which is in the Netherlands, but I think it's public somewhere anyway. So I'm not so worried about that. No, I'm giving Gary where they can go is they can go to dscoop.com, right? And that's their gateway to learn more about what we do, how we do it, and jump in. And
I mean, and even let's say, for example, you just want to explore that as something you're interested in, you can join the community and explore it for free and just, get your feet wet and figure out how you want to be involved. So dscoop.com is where you want to go and set up that account.
Yep. And then if you're interested in our upcoming Edge events, you just go to dscoopedge.com.
Okay, great. And that's in March in the Rockies and in June in Slovenia.
And I said online every day of the week.
Online every day. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's great to see you. Best wishes for you in March and in June and in every single day on the Dscoop platform. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for having us, Gary. Great to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.